Good morning and welcome to Different Strokes virtual conference. My name is Lauren. I'm the marketing manager for Different Strokes. It's brilliant to have you here for what I know is going to be a wonderful session this morning. This is part of a series of webinars that we're doing all week at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. every day. And a big thanks to our sponsors, Bolt, Bird and Kemp, for making it possible. If you attended these talks yesterday, this part won't be new to you, but a little bit of housekeeping. One is the chat function, which I can see some of you are using. Let's just have a quick look here. Yeah, so if I'm a little bit nosy, so if you can say hello in the chat function, see it's working. Fantastic. Oh, lovely. So this session is being recorded, but the only people visible are myself and Carole, so you're not on camera, which is a relief, I'm sure. Now, I'd also like to draw your attention to the Q&A function. So if you have any questions, you can submit these using the Q&A, and I will be posing these to Carole at the end of the session. I have had some questions submitted beforehand, and I will be trying to get through as many of these as we can. Now, enough of me, on to the lady of the hour. So those of you who are members of our Facebook group will know what an icon this lady is. Carole is always popping up with insight and wisdom when we need it the most on there. And today, Carole is going to talk all about how to keep your sparkle after stroke. So without much further ado, I'm going to hand you over to the wonderful Carole.
Good morning, everybody. I'm not ever sure how you follow that kind of introduction. So I'm really hoping not to disappoint you this morning. Do you know, it's really great to be in a space, in a room, albeit virtual, with fellow stroke survivors. That whole feeling that actually there is somebody there that understands what it is that you are going through. And I want to remind you that we are all united by a common enemy, a common bond, but we're actually completely different, because how stroke is impacting you and your life and your journey through it isn't the same as the person next to you. And that's okay. But it means that we have an understanding of the challenges and the problems that we're going through. So let me just tell you a little bit about my backstory. So I am a 2-time stroke survivor. My first stroke, and I have to say the name because I get excited, it sounds like a swear word. I had a right frontal lobe infarct. Yeah, that always kind of sounds wrong, but beautiful. And then I was celebrating 5 years since that, and I thought, do you know what? I'll have another one. So I had a right temporal bleed. There's obviously something wrong with the right side of my head, my brain. And so I've had 2 strokes. So this isn't my first rodeo, but this stroke is completely different. Like, so for me, I've got a form of retrograde amnesia, which actually means that I am the most sophisticated 2-year-old you are ever going to meet, because my consciousness of the world is actually 2 years old. But I do bring 58 years worth of expertise and experience to the table. And that's fascinating for me, because I feel like everything in my brain has been archived, and only if it's relevant to the here and now and moving forward am I accessing it. So I've actually got no frame of reference for fear, worry, anxiety, or regret, which on the one hand sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah, this is a really great place to be. But just like in Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities, it is the worst time of my life. And in other ways, it's the most amazing adventure, because I've also got partial facial blindness. So much of the world is actually quite new to me, and so quite fresh. Now, what I want to share with you is what I've discovered along this journey. When I was in hospital and not really understanding or knowing what was going on, the date of my death certificate could have been the 28th of February 2019. And when I realized this, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm still alive. So I must be alive for a reason. And I decided, with no real evidence, actually, I decided that the reason I was still here was to shine a light in the darkness for other people to find their way. And that quite literally gets me up every day. Now, I, most of the time, have no idea what it is I'm doing or how to do it. But actually, I've decided that that's my mission. And I think that for all of us, our lives have been derailed. They have been changed in some ways beyond recognition. And that we need to find a reason to just keep going, because it's crap. There is nothing that I'm going to say to you that's going to say, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, this is amazing. This is, no. What it is that we have experienced and are experiencing is awful. But I remember, and I love when it is I can say that. I remember when I had the first stroke, I spent a long time talking about how shit it was, which essentially was in my head because I wasn't verbalizing it to anybody else. But I believe in God. And it felt like he pulled me to one side and he said, Carole, shit is another word for manure. Manure is fertilizer. So it's all about growth. And as I'm walking through this second stroke, I'm realizing just how much it is that I have grown as a result of the challenges. And I say this because we all know when it is that we put on weight. You know, we've got there's the COVID weight, there's stroke weight, there's lots of weight going around, but we can't see when it is that we've grown, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, or any other way, because we haven't got the markers for that. And that whilst it is that the situation may seem the same, that actually, that as a result of the experiences that you've had, you actually have grown. You actually, based on the experiences that you went through yesterday, today, you are different from yesterday because you've got the experience of yesterday that you've made it through. And we don't think like that or even speak like that. And I often refer to myself as being weirdly wired because I look for the silver lining in every cloud, because there are lots of clouds. And I don't know whether it is a survival way of being, or whether it really is that I can actually think, do you know what, this has happened. What's the lesson that I can learn from this? Like one of the crazy things for me recently was when I was diagnosed with glaucoma. And I thought, seriously, I'm going to have a pity party. I have earned it. Just another thing on the list of things that don't work, aren't right. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to have ice cream and chocolate. And I really planned this party I was going to have all by myself. And then I was saying to you, I believe in God. And I hang out with my three besties, which is Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and God. And I refer to them as JCH and Papa G. And it really felt like H said to me, Carole, you do know you had glaucoma yesterday and you had glaucoma this morning. So the only thing that's changed is information. So what's your pity party going to be about? And in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, how many of us are being derailed, being kind of like halted in our tracks based on information that we've been given? And that all information is to give us wisdom to decide on our next course of action. And so whilst the whole stroke thing, I'm never going to say that what it is that you're going through is kind of, it's easy. No. But we have no control over the hands we are dealt, but we can choose how we play the game. And I know for me that every day that I get up, I start with the premise that I woke up. Oh my gosh, I'm alive. And I believe that everything is still possible because we are breathing. And whilst it is that we may not be able to do it in the way in which we used to be able to do it, it doesn't mean that we can't do it. It just means that we have to find another way, but we have to want to badly enough and to believe that yes, we can. And I heard something last week that just really just rocked me. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it was said that belief is the DJ that gets the party started. And I think that sometimes the challenges that we have is that we don't believe that it's possible. We don't believe that we're worth it. We just don't believe. And so it just makes everything so much harder. And I want to challenge you to start looking beyond your situation or your circumstance. And I know you're going to say to me, yeah, but Carole, you don't understand what it is that I'm going through. No, I don't. But I do know it's hard. But I do know that also that you are more than what your situation or your circumstance, and more than what other people are saying or not saying. That is part of your story, but that's not the whole story. It can't be. because you've traveled through so many challenges in your life to get to this point. And this may be the biggest challenge you've ever had to face, but you faced challenges before. So yes, you can do it. And it's that whole element of not looking back for memories, because actually memories are the only legitimate form of time travel. And I know this because I've got sketchy memories pre-February 2019, that sometimes that feels really hard. But it's not the loss of memory, it's the impact that it has. And I think that sometimes that we get caught up with the thing and not recognizing that it's not the thing that's the issue, it's the impact that it is having or it's had. And actually then we can't do anything about the thing, but we can do something about the impact. And what I realize is that so many of us talk in backward language. In fact, the whole of society talks in backward language. We talk about, we want to go back. You know, that whole thing, I want to go back to normal. We want to go back. Actually, for me, for the first 3 weeks of the stroke, I thought that they'd invented a time machine, because everybody was praying for me to go back to normal. And it felt like, oh, that must be a place for me to go. First of all, I want to say to you, there is no universal definition of normal. And secondly, you can't go back. I'm really sorry to be the bearer of that bad news, that you can't go back. But you can go forward. So if you used to play football, rather than say, I want to go back to playing football, how about changing it to, I want to play football? Because there is something about saying that in that way that actually now says, right, how can I make that happen? Because when it is that we're talking about, I want to go back, we already know that we can't go back. So we have shot ourselves in the foot and we're stuck where it is that we are. And I don't believe that for one moment. And whilst it is, I don't know you personally, but I do know that there is so much more to you than you have settled for. Stop settling for it. The stroke has taken so much already. Don't give it any more. Don't. Because it's a matter of choice. Now, I may seem as though, yeah, life's really easy. It's not. Every single day, it feels like I am battling for my life every day. You know, like people say, well, we have good days and bad days. I've decided I don't have good days and bad days. I have days. And I'm grateful for each day that I am given. And I'm not labeling it good or bad. I'm just labeling it as a day, and it's full of gratitude. And it's that whole element of finding ways to encourage yourself to keep moving. And I think it's about having a vision beyond this moment, beyond the limitations, that actually says, do you know what? Yeah, I fancy climbing that mountain, or just kind of something that actually is going to get your adrenaline pumping and get you pushing through. Because I firmly believe that once it is that you want to do something and you have a reason why, that why it's really important for you to do it, you will find a way. You will find the people to come alongside you, to encourage you, and to kind of stand with you. Yeah, it's yeah, you know, that whole thing, I'm just kind of excited. I just want all of us as stroke survivors to actually move from the survival space, because I think that there's a continuum. Like, surviving is getting by, and what it is that when it is that we didn't die, we survived. Yes, but actually, let's not stay in survival mode. Let's move from survival to fighter, because actually you're fighting for your life. You're fighting for the life that you're creating using what it is that you have right now. Because whilst it is that we have no control over it is what it is until it's something different. And I'm not saying that you need to like it, but it's just about acknowledging it and moving on from that. So I believe that there are survivors, and then we are fighters. And then we move on to that next stage, that we are warriors. We are stroke warriors, where we know that we're going to fight. But you know what? We also know that there are some fights that we are going to lose. But you know what? We're going to keep getting up, because we are winners, because we've got a choice. And it is about choice, that you choose to see yourself as a victim, that stroke did this to you, or you're a victor. This happened, but you know what? I'm going to keep getting up. I'm going to fall down, but I'm going to keep getting up. It's that whole idea that you fall down 3 times, but you get up 4 times. And that whole thing, that the road to recovery is not a straight line. It's that whole squiggly thing. And for those of you that have processing brainy challenges, you'll understand exactly what it is that I'm saying. That actually, that some days it looks really bright, and then some days it's really dark. But I talk about sparkle. And what's been fascinating for me is that I actually sparkle. It's like, oh my gosh, how did you do this? I've got an equation for sparkle. It is to know who you are, understand the value you bring to the table, and then show up unapologetically on purpose. And I want to say to each and every one of you, you bring value. You do. That whether or not it is the smile, or whether or not it is that you're just lying there, that you bring some value, you bring something to the table. Own it. Just know that actually, do you know what? When it is that you show up, you add a little something, you add a little flavor, a little spice to the room, or to the whatever it is that you are in. Start seeing yourself in a different light. Rather than looking at the infirmities, looking at the disabilities, looking at those challenges, start to look at the things that actually, do you know what? Yeah. And if you can't see it for you, then connect with somebody that can see it for you so that they can help you. Because we're not in this alone. There are other people around us. And one of the amazing things about the DS family is that I know that for me personally, the days when it is I felt, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. No, seriously, I don't. I have had days where it is that I've thought, do you know what? I'm tired that this is hard and I don't want to do it anymore. And I can reach out and ask for a hug. So you're not alone. And I think that that's the thing that's really important to know. Whilst it is that nobody's having the experience that you are having, that nobody's feeling the way that you are feeling in the way that you are feeling it, there are people there that want to help you to get through that dark space, to walk into the light, to be able to see that there is a light for you to walk through. So I want to encourage you to sparkle. And I've got an acronym for sparkle because I kind of like acronyms. In fact, I like all kinds of strange things. But the acronym is S is about superpower. And I think that we've all got something. We may not know what it is, we may not have uncovered it, but we've all got something. I didn't know, like one of my kind of classics in 2019, I didn't know that I was in a room with about 150 people and they were asking about the successes in the year. And I talked to the people next to me and I said, being able to pull up my own panties. I think that was a major success for me in 2019. And then they were asking for people to share with the room. And the people next to me were just nudging me and say, go on, Carole, tell them. So I've said to a room of 150 people who I don't know that, yeah, one of my major successes was I was able to pull up my own panties. And then I paused for a moment and then thought, oh, maybe I should tell them why that was a success. But the amount of people that were saying that really encouraged them, I would never have known that being able to pull up my own panties could encourage other people. But it's that whole thing that there is something that you have, that whole resilience, that whole fact that you are still breathing now and that you got up, that you have, there is richness and value in. No, it's not A, because then I can't spell. P is about passion. That it's really easy for the stroke to dull your passion. But actually, there is still something underneath the layers of that you are passionate about. Either rekindle that or find something to be passionate about. Even if it's just passionate about life, the fact that I'm breathing today, yes. Something that just moves you beyond looking down at the challenges and stuff that's going on. A is about attitude. Have you got a winning attitude or a whining attitude? Are you a victim of it, like this happened to me, or are you a victor that this happened and I'm pushing through? Decide on your attitude, because that makes a difference. R is about resources. What do you already have in your hand? What do you have? And each of you've got something. Even if it feels like you have nothing, that's not true. That you've made it this far, you've navigated your way through life to this point. Yeah, there's something there. K is kryptonite. Yeah, you know, superheroes, Superman, the whole kind of kryptonite thing, the thing that trips you up. the kind of like stuff, whether it's something that somebody says, and people in your life, that whole thought that comes in that prevents you from moving forward. I, for a while, was feeling that I'm broken. And the fact that any room that I go into, I am different. I mean, we're all different, but I take that difference to a whole nother level because I think completely differently to so many rooms it is that I'm in. And I just wanted to be like everybody else. And I think that's it, isn't it? There are times where it is that we want to be like everybody else. Well, I want to tell you that you're not, and you never will be. Get over it and own that difference. Because that's it. Isn't that one of the challenges that we have in society today, is that we're not owning the difference. We're not celebrating the difference. It isn't how it was that you would have liked to have had it, but actually this makes you uniquely you. Own it and identify that stuff that helps you to want to withdraw or cower into the darkness, and then actually start looking for, okay, when that happens, what can I do to raise my game? What can I do to actually put a smile to my face? Yeah, because there is always something that you can do, somebody you can reach out to, some music that you can listen to, a quote, just something that actually says, do you know what? It is bad, but yeah, yes, I can, and I'm going to. What's that? That's K. L is about kind of leadership. And I think about leadership in terms of thought leadership, because we are moving in the direction of our strongest thoughts. So if your thought every day is, look what the stroke has done, this is really terrible, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't move my arm, I can't move my leg, my speech, I can't. If that is what it is that you are constantly repeating to yourself, then actually moving beyond that is really difficult, if not impossible. And so it's looking for, coming alongside the people, because we can't do this alone. Coming alongside the people to help you to raise your thinking, so that actually, that when that thought comes in, there is another thought that can actually say, do you know what, I hear you, but I'm not listening to that. Yeah. And then E is about experience. The road that we have traveled, even through 2021, the things it is that you have done, that you have achieved, because you have, even if it doesn't look like that big thing, you've got a series of small things that you've actually done that are successes. In fact, actually, there's a couple of things that you can do for yourself is identify for yourself, what does success mean? Because I think that a lot of times that we're looking at other people's definitions of success and we've got no definition of our own. And because their definition of success is about them being able-bodied or kind of whatever, that we always feel that we're never going to be able to do that. Okay, you may not be able to do that, but what's your definition of success? You know, my definition of success often is I got up and I got dressed and put clothes on. Yeah, because for new stroke survivors out there, that I don't know if you're like me, sometimes I forget underwear. There was a day that I went out the house and I had leggings on and a short top. And as I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, I thought, okay, Carole, panties are a really great idea. It's that whole idea of just identifying what are those wins. And I've created this whole concept because I've worked out that I can't think in a linear way. So I mind map a lot of things. And that has really helped me. And I thought, do you know what? If it was that we recorded our wins, our small wins, you know, like you got up, you got dressed, that you ate some food today, or, you know, there's kind of like small wins. If we did that on a mind map, then we could look back and see the successes or the wins that we've had. And then we don't feel like that terrible failure because you weren't able to do that big thing, because you've seen the lots of little things. And I'm convinced that big wins are all made up of a series of small wins. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, you got that real major picture on the front of the box, but in order to get it, there are lots of little bits you got to put together in order for that to happen. And I'm calling that a win map, W-I-N. And win, I told you I like an acronym, is a winning inspirational narrative. And I think of it as a kind of a visual that actually reminds you, do you know what? That yes, I can. Because I think that that's got to be the mantra for every stroke survivor, that yes, I can. I may not know how, And I may not know when, but that doesn't mean that I am not able to do it. I'm just not doing it the way that I used to, or the way that somebody else is doing it. I'm doing it my way. I think Frank Sinatra's got it right. I did it my way. And that other people don't necessarily have to like it, but you have to own it. And I'm discovering more and more that, oh my gosh, that I may be weirdly wired. I may be a little bit strange and totally out there. But actually, this is good. You know, that whole concept of the glass is half full or half empty. I want to say, just be grateful you got a glass. You know, just look at, because of the experience that you've had, you already see the world differently. Own that, because nobody else has walked in your shoes. In fact, hold on a minute. In the universe, there is nobody else like you. No, really, there isn't. Because only you've got the combination of experience, expertise, failures, mistakes, successes, and triumphs. Nobody else has. Own that. The stroke has shown up and it has perhaps derailed things or twisted things slightly or in a major way. But actually, that's not who you are. You are never a stroke. You are so much more than that. And I want to challenge you to dig deep and find you, because you haven't gone away. Irrespective of all the layers and all of the things, the core you that makes you uniquely you is still there. Find it. And actually, if you want some help, we can have some laughs. So you can kind of come and have a conversation with me. I'll help you find something that you didn't know existed. I'm realizing, I don't know about you, but there are times on this journey where I actually laugh at myself on a regular basis. Like one of the classics, and I know because we're friends, so I can share this with you. I was going to pick up a new Motability car, and I decided that what I wanted to do is one of those Reels videos where I wanted to say goodbye to the old car and hello to the new car. Right, so I've kind of worked this out in my brain, and remember, this is stroke brain. So so what I've done is I've gone to the park and I'm wearing a black jumpsuit to say goodbye to my black car, and I've got a red jumpsuit so that I can say hello to my red car. Right. Now, if you know anything about jumpsuits, it's actually not possible to change into a jumpsuit standing up. I'm sitting down, rather. So I'm standing in a public car park in my bra and panties as I change from one jumpsuit to another. And as I stood there and I looked down at the bra and panties, I thought, I'm really glad that you put underwear on today, Carole. And I thought, yeah, I'm not sure that people do this, Carole, but it's being able to laugh at yourself rather than thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I did that. Just laughing at yourself, thinking, yeah, I'm proving to myself every day just how special it is that I am. So I want to say to you that you are awesome. In fact, you're flawsome. There's actually a word, and that there are flaws, but you're awesome anyway. Because I believe that we are all awesome. We've just got different flavors. And what's stopping us is that we haven't identified what those flavors are. And that as we are sitting here in October, oh yeah, we're coming to the end of another year. And as we journey through it, let's look at how it is that we can squeeze the juice out of life. Because if we've been granted another day, it actually is still full of possibility and opportunity. No, it is. And that we are the ones that hold the pen. Don't let stroke hold the pen. Don't let other people hold the pen. You hold the pen, and all you need to do is write and edit often. Own it. Yeah.
Wow, Carole, fantastic. I thought, if you don't mind, the comments are going mad with Carole's fan club, which I'd like to be the president of. So I'll read some of the comments from the chat. This person says, totally get this. My stock answer now to the question, how are you, is I'm alive. I think that's wonderful. Another person says, we are warriors. This person, I'm a stroke nurse, Carole, and I love your sparkle. Carole, you're a sparkle queen. There's lots of Carole appreciation here. This gentleman has a podcast called The Warrior Podcast. He prefers warriors to survivors.
Okay.
Lots of questions here. Love your crown, Carole. Love the glass comment. So I wondered if you're ready, we can move through. We've had a few questions.
Okay, let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Fantastic. So the first one is, and I think you've answered this, but how do you live a full life with the deficits caused by stroke?
I think that I focus more on what it is I can do. I'm fully aware, and in fact, yesterday I've travelled. So I'm actually in a hotel room right now. I travelled and I booked my own travel. And I got to London Bridge and realised that I'd booked a train that needed 3 stops to get to my destination. And I was standing in London Bridge station in tears, because it was that whole reminder for me that, okay, this is something that you know that you have a challenge with, but yet you didn't ask for help in order to be able to do it. But I was still going to Rochester. And I just want to let you know that Rochester and my comfort zone are not in the same orbit. But I was focusing on actually that yes, you can do this, and that asking for help along the way is the answer. Sometimes I do forget to ask for help. Like I was saying, I was in tears in the station, but it's that whole thing that is a deficit, right? But you're not in balance. There's that, and then there's the bit over here that's actually saying, do you know what? But I'm good at watching TV. I'm good at because there are ways in which you can use that. So it's identifying what the deficits are, but that's not where the focus is.
Absolutely, that's a great one. Another one, tips for being upbeat and trying to get through each day positively.
Well, I think that the first thing is that identify the things that make you smile or make your heart sing. Identify the things that make you smile or make your heart sing. So if there is music that when it is that you hear it, that you want to tap your feet or you want to dance and sing along, create a playlist of that. If there are like quotes, inspirational things that actually, when it is that you hear it, it changes that state. It makes you think differently. That surround yourself with those kind of things. And actually, the other thing that all of you to do, right? I've worked out that we are in the theatre of our lives and we are on the stage. And when you're on the stage, the only people's eyes you can see are in the front row. Okay, now I'm going to issue you with 6 tickets. Don't ask me why it's 6. I don't know. I've just got this number of 6 tickets to give you to identify 6 people in your front row. Now, those people are the people where there is no judgment, where it feels like it is a safe place, where if you fluff your lines, where you're not able to do something, that they will either know what those lines are and encourage you, or they will help you over the next bit. And more importantly, they are people that if you invite to a pity party, they are not coming. Because I think the pity parties, if you can have one, it's a lone affair. Because the last thing you need to do is be in a space with somebody saying, do you know what? Yeah, that's really terrible. Yeah, do you know what? When it was that happened to me, I can't. Even now, I'm still struggling with that. No, that's not what it is that you need. So actually surround yourself with people so that you've got 6 tickets. You don't have to use all 6 of them, but actually know that there are safe places. So you've got music and if it's music, it's a film. It might be a specific song. Like I love the This Is Me from The Showman. I mean, oh my gosh, every time it is that I hear that, I think, do you know what? Yeah. So find those things, because you need to encourage you. Like people say to me, oh, Carole, you should be, or you're a motivational speaker. No, I'm not. I can't motivate you to do anything. I can inspire you. You have to motivate yourself. So identify the things that help you to lift yourself up. And then look at how it is that you change your habits, because I'm still working on my habits, but daily habits that actually encourage you to keep going.
Fantastic. Yeah. And someone's agreed in the comments. They said, if you have to ask for help, I find that people are actually very keen to help if you ask them. So sometimes it's the barrier is asking, isn't it, rather than the help that you might receive. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. So if you've got any other questions, do put them in the Q&A now. One is, where do I begin with parting with who I was and growing into who I am?
Right. Actually, there's a great kind of, it's another one of Carole Tracy's. In the wars, yeah, there was something called the Dear John letter. And wives used to write to their husbands and partners and break up with them. I have no idea, actually, I should look up why it's called Dear John. But I kind of thought that actually, if you could write a letter to your former self and say thank you for everything it is that you've done, and the fact that former self has actually set you up with the tools and the strength to be able to navigate this new journey. And right now, that whilst it is that this wasn't necessarily through your choice, you're actually saying goodbye. Because I think that what it is that we're not doing is that we're not, I suppose it's kind of really kind of crazy thing to say, but distancing ourselves and actually saying that was yesterday and this is today. And I think that maybe actually writing to that person to say thank you and I love you, but I'm having to say goodbye now, as you start to embrace that actually, who am I? And what's really interesting is that's a question that the world asks all the time. The two major questions are, who am I and why am I here? And in some respects, having that stroke interruption is actually giving us a greater opportunity to reflect on who am I now? And that, yes, it is a kind of a consequence of all of the elements of yesterday, but right now, because now is the most powerful time that we've ever had, because yesterday was now when it was here. Tomorrow will be now when it gets here. So actually, all we ever have is now. So say goodbye if you want to write it, you can do an audio, you can write an email, just kind of something to actually acknowledge that today is now different from how it used to be yesterday. And then you can do things like, I had this kind of like crazy thing where I did this with somebody and I put in I got them to write the letter to their former self, tore it up, put it in a helium balloon, and then went into an open space and let it go. And just kind of something that actually indicates to you, you could write the letter and burn it, just kind of something that actually says, yeah, I'm letting go now. And everything's a process. So it is, you do that and then you're walking into it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that ritual sounds so powerful. And I think that can be such a powerful tool. So if anyone does do that, I'd love to hear in the group how it feels and how you get on. Another question, and I think a lot of these seem to be around the same thing, is how do you switch? So this person says, how do we break from survival mode and go into fighter mode?
I think the survival mode is essentially that we're just trying to make our way through this. And I think in that kind of the early stages, that's all we can do, that you can only do that, because it's a bit like you've been transported to a foreign land and that you have no idea about, your bearings or where it is that you are. And I believe everything's about a vision. And whilst it is that, that some people have got these huge visions of they want to take over the world and they want to do all of these things, it could just be that your vision is to like some people like riding horses, but actually I can see myself in the stables stroking the horse. I mean, not even necessarily being on the horse, but actually creating a vision for yourself. Like there's a lots of things. In fact, one of the things that we could do at DS is do a vision board, do a stroke vision board, which actually just does it in a different way. I'm not sure what that means because I've just said this off the top of my head, but that kind of whole idea that actually that what you do is you're creating a vision that's bigger than this moment. And it's that whole element of, rather than looking down at the problem, start to look up and see. And it brings more light to things. Because I remember actually, I love when you say that. I remember before, because I also have an underlying condition called lupus. And so before the strokes, I remember lying on the settee and not getting up, not opening curtains, not answering phones, doing all of those things. And I was watching an Oprah thing, and there was a guy on there that was quadriplegic and one that had no arms and no legs. And I'd been lying on the settee watching 24-hour TV, and I sat up to watch this. And I thought, oh my gosh, The shift from lying down to sitting up was significant because I now see the world differently. That I haven't moved from the settee, I haven't opened the curtains, I haven't answered the phones, but just that little shift made a huge difference. And so that whole element of actually, let's just look a little bit higher than our situation, and already we start to see things from a different perspective. So yeah, so it's vision.
Brilliant. I love that vision board idea as well. That's something we might have to pick up later. This is more of a comment. It says, you can only say goodbye to your former self when you have discovered your new self, which is lovely. And that's part of the vision, isn't it? Creating the vision is working towards that new self. Now, I think that is the end of all the questions. Again, we've got a comment that I think we'll all relate to. Someone said we can listen to Carole all day, which I agree with. And this person said, I would love to spend an evening laughing with you, maybe a bottle of wine. It is a female person, by the way, but I do think we should have an evening with Carole. I think that, you know, we'd all be signing up in a in a jiffy.
That would be hilarious. I mean, actually hilarious. Like, actually, let me share another joke. Like, I'm also thinking about doing straight brain comedy, but that's a whole nother conversation. I had my car broken into last year, and they stole the blue badge. And I was told to call the police and to report it. And I did. And the police asked me for the registration number, which obviously I don't remember. So I've said I'll go out and I'll read it to them. So I've gone out to the car and I've bent down and I've read the number plate. And then somebody was walking by and they said, good morning. And I said, good morning. Oh, this is 8:30 in the morning, by the way. They said, good morning. And I said, good morning. And they said, you have really made my day. You look beautiful. Which I thought that was a really strange thing for somebody to say. And I thought, look down, Carole, what have you got on? And I had a towel on and I was barefoot. And I can only imagine that when I bent down to read the number plates, and I thought, do you know what, Cal? You have to laugh because otherwise this is terrible. So my first thoughts were, I am so glad I didn't make this phone call naked.
Yeah. It does happen though. And we've had lots of people who've put signs up like, remember to put your clothes on before you leave the house. So that's another resource you can have, a sign to remind you to put your clothes
there you go.
on.
Signs everywhere.
Yeah. So there's another comment that I thought was lovely. And it said, thank you so much. So many notes I've made, lots of positive things for me to read every day. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. So sadly, Carole, unless you've got a closing thought, that is bringing our session to a close. So thank you so much to Carole. Brilliant as always. I think like everyone agrees, we could listen to you all day and feel so much better about the world and life if we did. But that does conclude our session. We've got another session.
I just
go for it, Carole.
Remember, the belief is the DJ that gets the party started. And so start working on what it is you're believing. And actually get a blank piece of paper and divide it into two. And on the one side, write the facts. So the facts are, this doesn't work, that doesn't, whatever. And then on the other side, write the truth. Because who you are is so much more than the fact that you've got aphasia, that fact that your leg doesn't work or your arm doesn't work, or there is so much more. Actually, write the facts and then challenge yourself to look at the bigger picture and actually what the truth is about who it is that you're saying you are. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good practical advice. I think you can go home and start with today. So this afternoon, we've got a session at 2 p.m, which is all about fatigue and living with it after stroke, which I know is something a lot of people in this session will hopefully get some help, hints and tips to deal with. Thanks again to Carole, who is an absolute legend. We love you, Carole, and our sponsors, Bolt, Bird and Kemp. And for you for taking time out to be with us today. You've been a wonderful group. I've loved all your comments and your questions, and it really means a lot to us all at DS. So do keep tuning in all week. We'd love to see you. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.